Hi, Prateek.
Hey Hannah, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You have a very nice ambient mood lighting going. It's very fitting.
This is my night work light.
Oh, it's perfect. I know, because what time is it? It's late for you. I mean, thanks for staying
It's
up. I know it's late.
it's almost midnight here. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I mean, it's hard to find a good time, so I appreciate it.
that's my pleasure.
I feel like we're in the club. It's given me a little bit of a throwback vibe for the things that we miss.
Yeah,
So you're in India, Bangalore? Am I saying
I'm
that
in
right?
Bang. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And how is everything in Bangalore these days? Tell us for the people that don't know or haven't been, or how's it been kind of survival for you this last year or so?
I think last year has been just quite crazy for pretty much everyone. This year has definitely been looking up. Life has been like pretty much back to normal. We've started going out. Schools have opened. Offices have opened. Um, So
Good.
slowly we are getting towards normalcy, I would say.
I mean, yeah, slow and steady. Fingers crossed. Well, that's good to hear. So, I want to talk a little bit about your history as a creative. Your style is super unique in the sense that you kind of blend and merge 3D assets with 2D and provide this amazing sense of kind of depth and some hand done elements. So, can you
Mhm.
talk just a little bit about what your creative process looks like, kind of how you came to be at where you're at now, maybe the path or inspiration that kind of led you to your current workflow?
Yeah, so there's definitely been a lot of evolution through the years. Um, when I started out, like while I was when I was studying in art school, I discovered 3D, which was around 2013, and when I kind of started out, it was just creating these really perfect. Everything was clean and very super digital, and that was kind of the style I was going for back then. And it definitely like the more I explored and experimented with it, I felt more comfortable messing things up a little more. Like adding
Yeah.
some glitches, just throwing in some texture, just breaking the composition, anything that worked or felt right.
Yeah, totally. I
Uh,
mean, there's a really cool sense of like the hand drawn elements in your work too. You'll see little sketches or squiggles or,
mhm.
bits that really kind of make it feel more tangible. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm assuming
So
you're
so a
doing
lot
those
of that.
digitally, but maybe, yeah, tell me about that.
I did start off like back then. I did not have a graphics like a Wacom tablet, so I used to actually like scribble stuff on paper, get scans of them, and overlay them on Photoshop
Oh, cool. Cool, cool,
to get
cool.
that effect. But eventually, like we completely like changed, like the process completely changed. Um, so it was a lot of like mix and match, getting paint texture, getting like paper texture into it, whatever felt right, pretty
I
much.
mean, it's cool. I love kind of bringing that tangible element to it. Also, how would you, I don't know, I like to ask artists like three kind of defining words that they think defines visually what their work kind of encompasses. What would you say that those words are for you?
Uh, I would say dreamy is one.
Cool.
I would say
Cool.
grunge is one.
Grunge, cool.
Um, I'm not sure about the third.
I mean, futuristic, dystopian, I feel
Futuristic,
like those are kind of
retro
easy.
future. Yeah, retro future.
ElectroFuture. Cool. I
Yeah,
actually haven't
that
heard
that could
that.
work.
That's a good one. Did you
Yeah.
coin that? I haven't heard ElectroFuture.
No, no, I didn't.
That's a good one.
I did
That's a
not.
good
Yeah.
one. So what's your kind of like workflow? Do you listen to music when you're working? Do you just like pretend like you're at a club and turn on your ambient lighting?
Yes, yes, that helps a lot. Like in fact, this kind of light and a lot of loud music totally sets
Mm-hmm.
the zone for some really good work to happen. Also, like weather, I realized affects me a lot. So if it's kind of a cloudy day and if it's kind of rainy and wet, I know I'm not that productive. So it's very important to set the right kind of ambience and environment. It's very, it just helps you be more productive. And
Cool.
even if it's artificial light, it just totally works.
Totally. I wanted to
Yeah.
take a pause and say thanks to everyone that's joining us. We're just getting started here. This is Prateek Vatash, one of the H plus artists that's based in India, Bangalore, India. So we're doing a little bit of a conversation with him, and at the end we'll open it up to Q&A. And of course, we'll save these on the platform when we're done, so you can always revisit it. So if you have questions, wait for the end, and we'll chime back in with Prateek and open that up then. Um, Thank you. Someone saying dreamy grunge, such an aesthetic. It is, and he does really well with it. What do you listen to when you work? I mean, I know it's loud. Is it like, classical loud or like techno loud?
No, it's actually quite a mix of like a pop punk genre. So that's been like my favorite music time period that I've like actually grown up in. Like my formative years were in the years 2000 to 2005, which was a very
Okay.
interesting time even musically. We had
Mm-hmm.
music like Avril Lavigne and a lot of like great like skater pop punk vibe going on, and I totally love
Yeah,
that.
2000, early
And
2000s. Early,
early
it's a mystery
2000s,
vibe
it's
for
it's
sure. Early 2000s.
yeah,
It's like
I totally.
I always wonder like when we, in the future when we're going back to like, vintage or throwback aesthetics and we try and define what the early 2000s is, is it just going to be Avril Lavigne like as the cover girl, like skateboarding
Yeah, yeah,
grunge? I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know.
That's
Um
totally the vibe. Yeah.
so what I guess how long have you been at it? Where did this come from? Were you a kind of skilled artist or taught artist in school? Did you come from a completely different background?
So I did my graduation in visual communication, pretty much like
Okay.
very basic, like specialized in graphic design in a way. So I had to learn the design principles and a lot of typography, a lot of layouts. So it was very structured in a way.
Oh, that makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah, I never really ventured much into illustration and art back in school. And that pretty much happened as I progressed through like my first and second job, and I kind of realized this is what I really connect with, and I really enjoy doing this much more.
Yeah, I mean, you have a really nice sensibility for composition and bringing text into your work, and I definitely feel those like design vibes and having
Hmm.
that background that totally makes sense. Do you want to kind of keep pushing further into that, I guess more graphic design feel, or how do you picture your work kind of continuing to flow? Because I know it's getting a little bit more of a blend between the, 2D
Hmm.
and 3D stuff. Where
Yeah.
where do you kind of want to take it? Do you think about that kind of stuff?
So I definitely think it's going more towards art and illustration right now, but I do retain like very typography has always been a soft spot for me. Like I absolutely love type in every way, and so I keep
Cool.
bringing in elements of different fonts, different typefaces, even if it's just me writing things, or if it's an illegible sentence in dingbats. Even I add that a lot to my work.
Hmm.
So it's those are elements of type that I add just to have a bit of design element to these compositions as well. So
I
it's
feel
it's
like your
an
work
yeah.
has a lot of kind of little hidden bits and little hidden words and hidden icons. When you're planning a piece out, is there like an intentional theme? Like, are you doing a pool theme? There was one piece that you had that I love that's super Egyptian themed.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
or are you just kind of creating this like overall environment? Do you have like a basis for a theme when you're working, or are you putting things in intentionally as little secret words or whatever, or is it more of like a broader body of work?
Uh, it's kind of a mix of all of that. A lot of the work just comes out of experimenting. I just mash up a couple of or render out a couple of scenes, and then I just play around with it in Photoshop, and just sometimes the result looks great, sometimes it looks horrible, but it's all part of the process, and I love that. Uh,
Cool.
Some of the things are really intentional. Like I don't know if you know, I add a lot of QR codes in my work.
Oh yeah,
So
somebody actually just asked a question about that. Nevi said, "Tell us about your mysterious QR codes in your work." So what's that about? I love that.
those are just like small Easter
Where do they
eggs.
go?
Sometimes they just take you to the music I was listening to while making
Oh,
that
that's really
particular
cool.
piece. Or it could just take you to some really random article which I was reading to. It's all like, so if I revisit that piece back, a couple of years later, it's kind of like even like a mark for me to remember, oh, this is what I was back then, and that's what I was feeling.
That's
It's
so cool.
yeah.
It's
So
yeah, it's almost like another layer of a, creative journal or creative sketchbook, throwing in some QR codes. That's funny. I've actually never scanned one of them in your work, and I've seen them, but I've never been like, oh, that must go somewhere. That must go to like, what Prateek is listening to, or a little behind the scenes. That's so funny. Nevi, the person that asked that question, said that they actually did scan them. So I really appreciate that. It's kind of like a little time capsule for every piece. So
yeah, I
cool.
guess it works like that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, tell me a little bit about just your day to day. Were you working today? Have you been getting out much? Have you been finding inspiration during this time? I know it's all kind of tricky questions, but
Hmm.
how's your flow been?
Um, I think this year has been looking up a lot more. Our restrictions have like reduced a lot, so I've started going out a lot more. Visiting the outdoors, being among nature, being in the park, going out for long walks. I think that's been missing for a while, and I'm really like appreciating and enjoying that at the moment. Um,
Yeah,
also
take
been
advantage.
been
Take advantage for sure.
yes. I mean, you never know when it comes back and everything shuts down again. Hopefully not. This year has been
Totally.
looking great. So
Totally.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Apart
start
from
pulling
that,
some. Go ahead.
sure, yes. No, just please go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna start pulling some of these questions in before I forget because we're actually getting some really interesting ones that I want to visit before
Hmm.
they go too far up in the in the screen. And this is actually
Sure.
a cool one because this is something that we do here at H Plus that we'll eventually do with you, and we create these really cool little lenticular cards for our
Hmm.
artists. Um,
Hmm.
And lenticular cards are kind of when you see, just for anyone that doesn't know, it's like a three-dimensional image, and it's usually based of three plates. So it's, three JPEGs essentially that are separated out so that when you move it, the image moves. And your work has such great depth to it, that
Hmm.
and so many great little elements that could wiggle. Someone just asked, what do you think about lenticular printing? Is that something you've ever done with your work?
No, I've never had the chance to, but I absolutely love lenticular. Like it's like I remember the first few times I saw it in my life, I was just blown away. Like how can a physical
Totally.
object have so much depth? And I know the one you mentioned was about the changing images,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have lenticular 3D as well, which has
Oh, yep.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
the depth, and I would love to try that at some point.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah,
just the depth of the image. It could be changing the gradient color in the background. I mean, it could be there
absolutely.
are a couple different ways to do it, but
Hmm.
lenticular, I'm gonna hit you up about that because I mean I
Yeah,
love them. It's kind of like a way to show motion. It's kind of a weird nostalgic throwback. I don't know if it's 80s or 90s or when kind of lenticular was this like funny marketing hype, but
hmm.
yeah, I love
It
it.
seems very 90s. I remember getting a lot of stickers, with wafer packets, and we used to have a lot of toys and pencil sharpeners with just used to have lenticular. It was such a 90s thing. I absolutely love
Totally.
it. Yeah.
Totally. Um, yeah, bringing that back. I mean, do you think that I'm sure you are like affected by your environment there in India, or are the
Mhm.
houses and rooms that you're portraying in your work, like, are those nostalgic at all for you? Are they more based in current time of, current interests? But how is the kind of environments that you portray wrapped in your own life? Is it, kind of dream worlds for you or more based in reality, do you think?
I would say it's completely dream based. I don't think I've ever visited a space like that in at least in this country.
Yeah, totally. Do you dream when
Yeah.
you sleep? Do you have dreams?
Yes, yes, I do, and I did. I even used to maintain a dream journal for a while.
Cool.
Uh,
Some people don't. I don't
it's
know. Mine are super vivid, but some people are like, nope, I don't know. No idea.
They're great for. I mean, if you want to just come up with a wacky idea, they're so bizarre, and I love it. The
Totally.
fact that you can channel into your subconscious and just come up with new ideas. That's great.
Totally. Totally. Someone's asking if
Yeah.
you're a Bjork fan. I know you touched on music a little bit, and I guess Bjork could fall into that category.
Yes, not that much into Bjork. I'm a lot more into Grimes, I would say. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
That makes
not
sense.
not too much into Bjork.
Okay, I feel you. So let's walk through your process a little bit. So let's walk
Hmm.
through kind of your methods that you go through, in creating the 3D elements, in bringing in the 2D sketches. What's your kind of navigation path for when you're creating one of these outputs?
Uh, so most of the time it starts in 3D. Like
Without
the
sharing too many secrets, no pressure.
no, no, there are no secrets. It mostly starts in 3D, like the general composition, just like setting the vibe and getting most of the colors right. Basically happens in 3D, and I use Cinema 4D for that. Uh, when I have most of the things set up, I mostly take like 4 or 5 renders or a couple of different camera shots, process that in Photoshop. Sometimes I take that into Illustrator if I need to add some additional elements. Pretty much just that, like color corrected in Photoshop and ready to go. That's it.
Cool. So you're like a full process, full program process. And then your final export, I mean, that's usually a layered PSD, I think.
Yeah, pretty
Or
much.
I
Yeah.
guess it could be vector. Yeah, totally. So you're pulling
Hmm.
in, starting in 3D, pulling in the elements into Creative
That's
Suite,
right. That's right.
kind of figuring out your whole own little navigation between mixing and matching programs. And I mean, stylistically, it's amazing. And I think for people that are out there kind of trying to figure out, what their style is or how it's going to look like, it's really just all figuring out what works best for you. I mean, was it just a matter of kind of experimenting that got you to that point?
Oh yes, it was all about experimenting. Like I don't think any of this would have happened if I didn't try it out. Like, you just find a random brush from somewhere and you think, okay, oh, that looks cool. Let me try that out on this composition. Scribble some parts over there on a separate layer. It's a lot like collaging as well. That's how I see some of my
Mm,
pieces do look like
yeah, totally.
collages, and that's kind of the process I follow even for very structured compositions. I do try to add in a little chaos even though it seems structured.
Yeah, definitely. Do you bring in actual scanned images ever? I mean, I know you maybe used to scan some of your sketches,
Hmm.
but have you ever scanned in, I don't know, like actual collage environments or pyramids or, palm trees or anything like that? I'll just name some of my
Uh,
favorite things.
not recently. I did do that a couple of years back when I was starting out, with these collages. But now it's just pretty much just finding images from old archives, old magazine archives,
Cool.
working with those or anything else that just fits in.
Cool, cool. So, I know Prateek, you and I have a working relationship together. We work on client projects, some really cool stuff in the last couple of months. Even just since we started working together, we did a big Cardi B project for the new
Mhm.
year. Some fun secret stuff in the works. What is like some dream projects of yours? What are your bigger end goals? Do you want to do exhibitions? Do you want to do books? Do you want to do fashion world or tech world? What do you kind of feel like
Mhm.
would be your bucket list projects, or even for yourself?
So I absolutely love print. I
Cool.
would I would definitely want to venture more into, experimented with printed material, like even if
Mhm.
it's zines or art books, or even if it's like music packaging. That fascinates me a lot.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that few of those.
I love
Hmm.
print, like a tangible book cover or, anything tangible. I love books. Obviously, I'm big
Yeah,
in the kind of old school, traditional illustration stuff. So physical products are awesome. I'm right with you.
absolutely. Yeah, and especially now that everything being so digital, I think physical definitely has such a different touch, and like it feels really special. Like even if I make a simple print of something, it feels much more, elevated in that way.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Radhika, we got a comment from Radhika that says that you should do interiors. Um, like a full interior build out would be amazing. Have you ever thought about that? Doing like a experiential kind of Vatash world?
Oh, I would love to, and most probably like a nightclub would be great. I think
Oh
if I
yeah.
ever have a
Oh
chance,
yeah.
just to go out, like set up the lights and set up all the neon and get it running.
Yeah, full vibe. I mean, neon, yeah,
Yeah.
little bits of neon and glossy furniture,
Yep.
and I mean, you already have the lights going, obviously. I feel like you got a good thing going there. Um, yeah, amazing. Well, I think we're going to open it up. If anyone else has more questions, we could do a little bit of a more of a Q&A with Prateek. I know a lot have already been coming in, and I've kind of been going through them as I see them. I mean, everyone always just wants to know how your style develops. I think you kind of touched on that a little bit
Hmm.
um, with your background, but I don't know, what would you share? Oh, actually, someone's asking if you sell prints of your work. Do you get into physical exhibition spaces, or are prints something that you've done in the past?
I actually made some prints just yesterday. So
Oh,
I have
there we
been.
go.
I just happened to
Perfect
go to the print.
timing.
I just happened to go to the print shop yesterday and just tested out a couple of prints to see how it looks like. So yes, I do want to get into prints for this year.
Cool.
I would love to ship them if possible. Definitely.
Yeah, so Phil Suss, be on the lookout for some prints that your timing is great. Prateek just made them. And then will you have those accessible through your site or Instagram? What I don't know if you have a store set up yet, but we'll definitely plug that in when it goes.
Yeah, most probably through Instagram. I don't have a store yet.
Cool. And then we'll do lenticulars also because I love them and I love printed stuff. Um, and
For sure.
as soon as people are back, I don't know, back at work or send us their new address, their new work at home address, um, we'll be able to send all that out again.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I got a question from Len Cantamara. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher that. How much does regional culture play a role in your ideation? So I guess does the Indian culture, does your regional culture, how much does that
Hmm.
play a role in like your creative process or your idea process?
I wouldn't say a lot. I have developed a style that kind of, I don't think it relates a lot to where I stay in currently, and it's pretty much a style that I created out of my mind. It's a very like it's an imaginary space.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I would let culture affect me as such. But
Yeah,
definitely,
I
I
wouldn't
think
say
that
when I looked at your work that either. Yeah, I wouldn't say, oh, he's from Bangalore.
mm,
Like I can totally see that.
the only way I think I can relate is the colors, uh, because this country is really really colorful, and we have a lot of
Oh yeah.
bright. It's a very bright and vibrant culture. So that's one way I think I could relate to, if I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you work with companies or clients or friends locally on more, traditional stuff, or are you usually working with people outside of India? I actually don't know.
So it's been a mix. So mostly when people have
Hmm.
approached me here in this country has been for very specific to my style. So they would
Hmm.
want something that I have been making for a while. So it kind of relates to it in that way. I wouldn't say it's been very
Yeah.
traditional. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, I can see all the vibrant colors. That totally makes
Hmm.
sense. But otherwise, it seems like that electro-future kind of, just otherworldly dreamscape stuff, which doesn't need to
Yeah.
really be geographically anywhere. That makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Hmm.
Syria is asking, is your room dark with neon lights too? I'm assuming that your whole existence is just made up of neon. Are you in your like home office studio space, or are you somewhere else?
Yes, yes. This is on my work desk. I'm taking the call from here.
So this is just
Uh,
normal lighting for Prateek.
this is post sunset.
I love it. I
Sometimes it's
love it.
blue, sometimes it's pink. I mean, that totally depends on the mood.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amir is asking, how much does popular culture impact your work? So when you're putting your pieces together, are your little
Hmm.
elements and Easter eggs? I mean, I guess your QR codes could go back to pop culture, but is that something that you think impacts your creative process at all?
I mean, I wouldn't say things that are trending and such, but
Mm-hmm.
pop culture, I would say I do bring in elements from things that I love and I connect to. I I do have this video gaming universe going on the side, so I would suddenly throw in a Nintendo character in a random piece, or play around with a font that relates to a gaming thing, and there are like such subtle references. So if you want to really look into it, you might find some. Is
Cool.
how I would see it.
Cool. Are you a gamer? Do you game?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love gaming.
Amazing.
Yes.
I think maybe someone was asking where you got your lights.
My lights?
Yeah, are they
Oh,
like strip lights or neon lights, or are they just light bulbs? It's a full
no.
club.
These are just color changing LED lights. So I can
Oh,
just,
cool, cool,
through my
cool.
phone, I can just change it to whatever I want. That
Cool,
should be fairly common. Yeah.
cool. Brandon, I see you. Brandon's asking how we got to work with Lil Nas X. That was a project that H Plus did maybe a year ago, and we're not really doing full H Plus questions with me. I do those sometimes. I post a lot on our own, Q&A on the stories. And of course, if anyone wants to reach out and ask, we do H Plus Q&As also with me. But today it's about Prateek, um, one of our H Plus artists out in India. Um, and we're gonna ask get a couple more questions going, and then we'll wrap it up. Someone's asking about VR gaming. Is that something that you've tried?
Yes, yes, I do have a VR headset.
Cool.
I
Do
love VR gaming. Yes.
What are some of your favorites?
I've been obsessed with this game called Beat Saber. So it's
Oh yeah,
essentially like
I've heard of
I
that.
don't know if it's a great workout, and I love breaking out of sweat with that. It's so amazing and makes you just have these lightsabers and you have to sync it with the music. It's amazing.
Is it kind of like, this is gonna totally age me in a funny way? Is it like Dance Revolution, but like with
Yes, yes,
VR
yes.
sabers? That's kind of
That's
what I
right. That's
figured.
right. It's pretty much that. I love DDR, Dance Dance Revolution as well. Yeah.
I mean, I must have done that like in an arcade a while ago, but
Yes.
I'm sure there's all kinds of other, active VR dance games, but I've heard of the lightsaber one. That sounds
Yeah.
really amazing.
That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so Art Jamil is asking about your creative process. That's something that we
Hmm.
discussed a little while ago. So after we're done, this is going to be saved and posted on our Instagram, and it'll be saved in the IGTV section, so you can get a full recap on Prateek's work. Um, Prateek, any words that you want to share to artists that are just starting out or that are hoping to kind of, discover a style how you did, or you know like, what would you recommend to someone that's trying to get to the point where you're at?
Um, I think the most important thing I can say is to just stay true to yourself and just make things and make art that you really connect with and you really enjoy it, so that makes it very real. And if you put all your love into it, I'm sure people will see that as well. So
Totally. Yeah,
that's a
that's
that's
kind of, I'm there with you. Like if you keep producing, people recognize. If you keep, creating your own personal work, it'll totally get noticed. Do you feel like having an education background is really important, or did you learn a lot of the programs that you work with on the side or on your
Mhm.
own, or was it both?
uh so I would say the learning never stopped after like my school, like college education. All of the 3D I had pretty much picked up by myself, and everything post that was just pushing yourself, trying
Mm-hmm.
out new software, learning it from YouTube, learning it from some online classes. Pretty much set a goal for yourself and see how you can get there, and what tools can you use to get there. And it's basically your own path that you have to chart out.
Yeah, totally, totally. So again, what programs do you use to create? Mainly Cinema 4D and then
That's
Photoshop,
right.
right? And then maybe Illustrator.
Hmm.
So you're kind of
That's
in
right.
both the 3D and the Creative Suite worlds.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you ever played with any of the other 3D software or animation at all?
Just a couple of months back, I started trying out ZBrush. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been a very, very different kind of software. Organic modeling is something I hadn't tried before. So just to see what happens if I try that out, and that the whole output of that looked so different from my usual work. And I'd love to
Totally.
just keep pushing that forward and see how that, joins in with this universe.
Totally. So cool. So cool.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Prateek. We'll leave a couple more minutes if anyone wants to ask any last questions, but I think this was amazing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and bringing such great, thoughtful questions to the table. And of course, go follow Prateek Vatash. It's just at Vatash. We'll tag it. He's, one of the H plus artists.